Good morning, boys and girls. Happy Thursday, and Passover begins today. And I cannot wait to share a book with you. But before I share My Sweet Passover by Leslie Newman, I want to talk to you a minute about something new I'm going to start next week. Now, remember, tomorrow we won't have a story because it's a holiday, and Monday we won't have a story because it's a holiday. But next week, I am going to start another Zoom book club. And this is going to be based on the I Survived books. And the first I Survived book we're going to read is I Survived D-Day. And we're going to also tie it into some of our nonfiction books on the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marines. And we're going to talk about their role in D-Day. It's going to be an exciting book club if you like the I Survived series or if you like the Armed Forces. And I think probably our first and second graders would love it. Third graders probably would love it too, and so would fourth graders. So anybody who wants to join, I'm going to put it on Facebook today, and your mom can email me and let me know if you want to be part of our Zoom. I cannot wait. I cannot wait till this afternoon at 1 o'clock when I'm going to have my first Zoom American Girls Book Club. I'm looking forward to it. Now for our story. I used to love when Passover started when I was a little girl because I had a lot of very good friends who celebrated Passover as part of the Jewish religion. And I used to like it though because I like to eat, and they would bring matzah with jelly on it for lunch, and I loved it. A Sweet Passover by Leslie Newman. Miriam loved celebrating Passover at Grandma and Grandpa's house. She loved pinning a piece of lace to her hair just like Grandma did before she lit 2 tall candles and sang a special blessing to start off the Seder. And I hope I said that right. She loved walking around the table with a towel draped over her arm while Mommy poured water from a white pitcher over everyone's hand. So she loved all of this. And she joyfully sang the 4 questions in Hebrew and then listened as Grandpa read the answers and told of the Jews' exodus from Egypt in his deep and booming voice. She loved the story. She giggled at the way Daddy said, warm, warmer, hot, as she got closer and closer to finding what he had hidden in the middle matzah in half. After he broke the middle matzah in half and tucked one of the pieces between 2 of Grandma's cookbooks high on the kitchen shelf. She happily stood beside Aunt Rachel and Uncle Nathan when they opened the front door to welcome Elijah the prophet, and she laughed when Bubala joined them and howled at the full moon. Miriam loved everything about Passover, but most of all, she loved eating matzah. During the 8-day festival, she ate as much of that unleavened bread as she could. On the first day of Passover, Miriam and Grandma ate matzah with butter. On the second day of Passover, Miriam and Grandpa ate matzah with jelly. And on the third day of Passover, Miriam and Aunt Rachel ate matzah with tuna salad. On the 4th day of Passover, Miriam and Uncle Newman ate matzah with egg salad. And on the 5th day of Passover, Miriam and Mommy ate matzah with cream cheese. And on the 6th day of Passover, Miriam and Daddy ate matzah with cottage cheese. She ate matzah with everything. On the 7th day of Passover, Miriam ate lots of matzah all by herself. She ate matzah with almond butter and matzah with apple butter, and she ate matzah with blueberry jam and strawberry jam. She ate plain matzah, egg matzah, whole wheat matzah, and chocolate-covered matzah. All week long, Miriam ate matzah matzah, matzah. Yum. When she woke up the last day of Passover, Miriam was sick of matzah. All she wanted for breakfast was a thick slice of warm toast or a soft, chewy bagel or a sweet cinnamon donut or a freshly baked blueberry muffin. But Passover wasn't over until sundown, which meant that Miriam had to wait all day long before she could eat any of those things. Miriam, Grandpa called from downstairs, time for breakfast. Miriam groaned and pulled the blanket over her head. Miriam, Grandpa called again. I'm not hungry, Miriam called. Are you sure? Grandpa asked. I'm making French toast. I'm coming, said Miriam. So she's rushing downstairs. French toast, yummy. And there was Grandpa with an apron tied around his waist and a puffy chef's hat perched on his head. Good morning, Grandpa gave Miriam a hug and a kiss. Ready for some French toast? Miriam looked at the counter where Grandpa had placed eggs, milk, butter, and a frying pan. Where's the bread, she asked. Bread? I can't use bread. It's still Passover, Grandpa reminded her. That's why I'm using matzah. Matzah, Miriam moaned. How can you make French toast out of matzah? I'm making Passover French toast. Grandpa explained. I am making matzah brie. Matzah brie, yuck! Miriam folded her arms. I am never eating matzah again. Never? That's too bad, Grandpa said. You don't know what you're missing. And then he began to cook. First, Grandpa crumbled up matzah and soaked it in warm water. Next, he cracked some eggs into a bowl, added a little milk, and beat it like this. Then he drained the matzah and poured the beaten eggs and milk over it. Then he put a slice of butter in the frying pan. And then as soon as the butter started to sizzle just a little bit, he poured in the uncooked matzah. And when it was brown around the edges, he flipped it over and he said, look, matzah French toast. No, Miriam said, wrinkling up her nose. No more matzah for me. Suit yourself, Grandpa said. Will you please set the table? Miriam took out the special Passover plates and put one at each place. Just as she sat down, the last fork and spoon, Mommy and Daddy and Uncle Rachel and Uncle Nathan and Grandma scrambled into the dining room. So she was still helping, even though she wasn't going to eat. Mommy spooned applesauce on top of her matzah. Daddy poured maple syrup on his. And Aunt Rachel, she put sugar and cinnamon. Uncle Nathan used sour cream. Grandma added salt and pepper. And Grandpa just left his plain. Eat in good health, said Grandpa. Ooh, this is good, said Grandma. The best I've ever had, said Mommy. May I please have seconds? Asked Uncle Nathan. Save a piece for me, said Aunt Rachel. My compliments to the chef, said Dad. And they were so busy eating, no one noticed that Miriam had nothing on her plate. Soon breakfast was over and all was quiet until Miriam's belly let out a loud rumble. Miriam, didn't you get enough to eat? Mommy asked. No, Miriam answered. Miriam is never going to eat matzah again, Grandpa announced. Mommy and Daddy and Aunt Rachel and Uncle Nathan and Grandma all went, never? So here they all are looking at her thinking, what is going on? Not even on Passover, asked Mommy. But Miriam, we always eat matzah on Passover. How else will we remember our ancestors were slaves in Egypt? And when the Pharaoh granted them their freedom, they had to leave in such a rush they couldn't even wait for the bread dough to rise. How else will we remember that even the plainest food eaten in freedom tastes better than the fanciest food eaten in slavery? how can we remember them? That's why we have a sweet Passover, said Grandma. Matzah is such a simple food, it reminds us to be humble, explained Uncle Nathan. It doesn't puff itself up, and we shouldn't puff ourselves up either. It's a mitzvah to eat matzah, and that means a good deed, said Aunt Rachel. Matzah goes with everything, Grandpa said, and that reminds us that we should get along with everyone too. And if all those reasons weren't enough for us, your grandfather happens to make the best matzah French toast in the world. Sounds good to me. Miriam looked around the table at each member of her family and thought over what everyone had said. Then she asked in her most humble voice, Grandpa, will you please make me some matzah brie? I'm sorry, Miriam, said Grandpa. I'm too full to cook. Please, Grandpa, said Miriam, pretty please, with applesauce on top. No, said Grandpa, I'm not going to make it. Why not, asked Miriam. So look at Miriam. Now she's being all sweet. She wants some matzah French toast. Because, said Grandpa, we're going to make the matzah French toast together. And Miriam crumpled up the matzah and beat the eggs while Grandpa melted the butter in the frying pan. Miriam poured the uncooked matzah into the pan and watched as Grandpa fried it up. And when the matzah was ready, Grandpa set a great big piece in front of Miriam. Eat it in good health and enjoy. And Miriam did. Look at everybody looking at Miriam eating. And this book is wonderful. It has a recipe in the back of the matzah brie, and it also has throughout the book some Hebrew words, and it also has the story of the Festival of Freedom, and which is Passover, in the back of the book. And it's a wonderful, wonderful book that we have in our library. And when we all get back to school, if you want to check it out, you certainly can. And the other thing that it has in the back is a glossary, which has new words. And here in the back are the Hebrew words that are used throughout the book that Miss Hill probably would say incorrectly if she said them. And so I want everyone who celebrates Passover starting this evening to have a very sweet Passover and celebration. Y'all have a wonderful Thursday, have a sweet Passover, and a happy Easter. And I look forward to seeing you if you're coming to the Zoom book club this afternoon. And I look forward to seeing everybody again next Tuesday. I'll see you soon. Y'all take care.